Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Root Beer here with the very end of our 2016 Grade 10 Cayley contest. That's right, we're up to question number 25. Hopefully you've given it a try. Practice does make perfect, and we can now dive in and take a look and see what we can see. So as I say, question 25, a new language uses only the letters A, B, C, D, and E. Letters A and E are called vowels, while B, C, and D are called consonants, just like in the real English language. A sequence of letters is called a word if it does not include the same letter twice in a row, and it does not include two vowels in a row. Okay. So no BBs, but no AEs or EEs or EAs as well. So I guess something like B, A, C, D, C, D, C, D. That counts as a word, I guess. How many words are there in this language that are 10 letters long and begin with a vowel? So I guess we could tack an E on up here. Okay. So, these are some very big numbers. They're all in the 199,000s. What are we going to do? Well, we don't have much restriction on the way this language is made, and this reminds me of a couple other questions I've seen on other contests. In particular, it reminds me of a question I saw when I was a TA for a third-year Introduction to Logic course. They were doing some induction proofs about languages that were constructed very similar to this, just using zeros and ones and stuff like that. And languages like this are very, I think, recursive. I think this is going to be a recursive language. That is to say, you can make bigger words by starting with smaller words and tacking things on. I think that's a good avenue to explore here. Okay, we'll see. Maybe the numbers will be a little nice. So we can start, there's nothing special about this 10. We can get a handle on this question by looking at smaller things, like maybe just figuring out how many words there are of length 4. Okay, but how can we make a word of length 4? Well, I think we can start by making words of length 1, and then from there length 2, and so on. Now, you can either tack on things to the start or to the end, doesn't really matter which way. But I'm going to classify my letters as ones that start with A, B, C, D, or E. I expect A and E to behave very similarly. B, C, and D I also expect to be similar because these are vowels and consonants. Now in terms of words of length 1, well, there's one word of length 1 for A, B, C, that start with A, start with B, start with... Just these letters on their own are words. Remember, the restrictions for the words start with, you can't have two of the same letter. You can't have two vowels in a row. So if you've only got one letter, you're not going to run afoul of the restrictions. Okay? But when we start to get to words of length 2, well, there we have a bit of an issue. So suppose I want to create a word that starts with A and is of length 2. What letters could I have following it? Okay? Well, you can't have anything that starts with an A, because you can't have two A's in a row. You also can't have anything that starts with an E, because you can't have two vowels in a row. But you could have AB, or you could have AC, or AD. So you can have 3 of these. Similarly, it's the exact same reasoning. E can't be followed by any word that starts with an E or an A. So only EB, EC, and ED. But when we decide to try and make a word that starts with a B, what can we have? Well, you'll have a B, and then you'll have another smaller word, a word with one less length. In this case, since we're dealing with words of length 2, it'll be B followed by a word with length 1. And we know how many words there are with length 1, and we know what each one of them starts with. We could have BA, we could have BC, we could have BD, we could have BE, but we can't have BB. You can't have the same letter following itself. So any one of the 4 that aren't B can be chosen, and the same rules apply for C and D. Okay. But now instead, let's imagine we're making a word of length 3 that starts with a B. It's going to be followed by 2 letters, and those 2 letters, when considered on their own, will have to be a word. Okay? So we've decided we're going to have a B. There's only one restriction. The next letter, this smaller two-letter word, the next letter can't be a B. So that smaller 2-letter word can't start with a B. But anything else is fair game. And that gives me 14 possible words of length 3 that start with a B. The same thing applies for C and D. They're consonants. They're not treated separately. The vowels are the ones that have an extra rule about them. So imagine I'm making a word of length 3 that starts with an A. Well, it's going to be followed by 2 more letters. If I ignore the A, those 2 letters still have to satisfy all the rules, so they'll still have to be a word. Just a word of length 2. Okay, well, we've got a list, or we've got the number of all the words of length 2. Which ones can I use? Well, words that start with a B, that's fine. C, yeah, sure. D, absolutely. But I can't pick any 2-letter word that starts with an A, because then I'll have an A followed by an A. And I can't pick any 2-letter word that starts with an E, because you can't have a vowel followed by a vowel. Those are the rules. So any of the ones that start with B, C, or D, any of those 12 will work. And the same reasoning applies to E. And you may notice we're working out a pattern pretty quickly. Okay? If I want to start a length 4 word with a B, the next word has to be of length 3, or the next 3 characters have to form a word that starts that has length 3 that can start with anything but a B. So 12, 14, 14, and 12. And that'll be 2 times 26, so 52. Okay? And the same thing happens with C and D, because the consonants all act the same. When it comes to a 4-letter word that starts with an A, you'll have A followed by a 3-letter word, and it can't start with an A or an E. So the ones that start with B, C, or D are the ones we use, and that's 42 apiece. And you'll notice the numbers here are being repeated over and over again. So what we can do is we can say let AN equal the number of words of length N that start with A, and I'll let BN be the number of words of length N that start with B. And there's nothing special about the A or B. AN is also, so 5 here, we'll get A5, but A5 is also the number that start with E. Vowels act the same. Okay, you might notice we get the same 3 numbers in the middle. It's because B, C, and D are not really different as far as the language's rules are concerned. There isn't a separate rule for B that doesn't also apply to C and D in equal measure. Okay? So we don't really need to keep track of these, of all of these numbers. Okay? What we need to do is we need to recognize that our language is being built up by smaller words. So figuring out A5 will require me to know how many words there are of length 4 of various varieties, starting with a vowel or not, starting with a consonant. Okay? Same with figuring out B5. Now we have enough information to, I think, approach or get an idea as to what's going on. So this 42 came because I have to use a B, C, or D, so it's just 3 times the previous B number. And that tracks. This 12 was 3 times this 4. This 3 is 3 times this 1. So A5 should be 3 times 52, 156. But we can actually make that a rule. So AN is 3 times the previous BN. So BN minus 1. Now how about the next B? How did we get this 52? If my word starts with a B, it's B followed by a smaller word that starts with anything but B. So it starts with an A or an E. So that's 2 copies of this sort of AN number. And then starts with a C or a D. So 2 copies of BN. So BN is 2 of the previous ANs and 2 of the previous BNs. So BN minus 1. So now that we've got this relationship, we can actually I mean, the numbers, we don't need as many numbers, as I already commented. Now we can just sort of build up a much faster sort of chart, just with the ANs and the BNs. And then when we get to the end with 10, we'll just remember, well, the number of ANs, or the number AN is the number of words that start with an A, but it also it counts the same number of words that start with E. So we'll just double it for the final answer, because if I recall correctly, they wanted begin with a vowel. Okay. So there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they both start with 1. No problem there. And then we've seen AN. Okay, you triple the BN. BN, you add both of them up and double it. That gets you the 4. Triple the 4, you get 12. Add both of them up is 7. Double that, 14. Triple the 14, you get 42. Add both of them up, 26. Double that for 52. All the numbers that we've worked out already. And now we're going to get into sort of new territory. So 3 times 52 is 156, which I did already say. I'm going to run out of space, aren't I? And then we can add up the 42 and 52 for 94 and double that. I'm just going to grab my calculator and make my life a little easier. So 188. So the number of words that start with a B, there's 188 of them of length 5. Same with C, same with D. So we're not counting up the number of words that start with a consonant, just that start with B, and it's representative of all the consonants. So we take the 188, multiply that by 3, and we get 564, 156, and 188. Add up the 2 previous ones and double it. We get 688. Multiply that by 3, and we'll get 2064. Add them together and multiply by 2, and we'll get 2504. And you know what? I'm going to put the 8 and the 9 and the 10 on a separate line. Just because I made a mistake. I got too cramped there. So the 2504 times 3 is going to be 7512. We actually don't need to figure out the last 10 for the BNs. Just need these. In fact, we just need these 2 numbers to work out this BN and then triple it. I'll fill them all in, but just a little bit of a time save, just planning ahead. Anyway, add up the 2064 and the 2504 and multiply that by 2. And we get 9136. And so if I wanted to add those 2 up, just to shortcut my way to the answer, I'll get, and multiply that by 2, I will get 33296. And then if I multiply that by 3, I will get 99888. So that's the number of words that start with an A of length 10. Same number will start with E, so we'll double this number, and we get number of words of length 10 that start with a vowel as 199,776. So I'll look for that answer in a moment. I just want to fill out the little list of numbers that I said I would. But that is our final answer. Anyways, getting back to start with A of length 9, take the 9136, multiply that by 3, 27408. Add that to the 33296 and double it, and we get 121,408. But we did already get our answer, so now we can go back 199776, and that's E. So we're going to bubble in E, and that is going to wrap up our Cayley contest all the way. So it's been a very good contest, I would say, so far. Some interesting questions, these last few Part C questions. I've liked them. Each one was a little different, but required thought nonetheless, and I like that. I never like it when the C part is too easy. I always like an interesting question with maybe a little bit of a twist, and I like discovering the recursion in this last question. Yeah, that's it for the Cayley. So this is the 2016, so you might want to, if you're looking for other Cayleys, 2015, 2017 are good ones, especially if you're going to be writing a Cayley this year. It's good to practice as many papers as you can. Other grade 10 level contests you might be interested in, the 2016 Galois, or really any of the Galois papers put out by Waterloo. They're all quite good. Other things aimed at a grade 10 level, the Canadian Intermediate Math Contest by Waterloo, also aimed. It's a grade 9-10, but if you're in grade 10 and writing grade 10 level papers, you're all set for that as well. Okay? But that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in whatever future math video of mine you choose to watch. Until then, have a wonderful day and take care.